conference, we have the Utah Jazz, they're number one. We go down the line, we have the Clippers, we have the Nuggets, the Lakers, they're number 5, followed by the Portland Trailblazers. But right there, right online, we have also the Dallas Mavericks, we have Memphis, and we have Golden State Warriors. They're still trying to get that push. Which one do you see here, Kelsey, that could come as a surprise and being able to get into that playoff contention and getting that spot and probably blowing away some of us?
Yeah, I love this question. And so, of course, the Washington Wizards just played that Golden State Warriors team. And it's a Warriors team that's not the same Warriors team that we've got to know in the NBA. When the Warriors used to come to town, you're pretty much scared, right? You didn't know how many points they were going to put up on you. Now, this Warriors team is a team that you look at on the schedule and you're like, hey, we have a chance to beat them. And I just look at the Wizards team, right, that's finding its groove, just won 6 straight, and defeating this Warriors team held Steph Curry from the arc. This is Steph Curry. That's like Chef Curry, right? He's pretty short from the arc. So again, they're being able to be thrown off balance. And Steph is having to work with new pieces, younger pieces, and they're still trying to find their groups. That Warriors team, I'm not as worried about. We talk about the West. Who's not excited about the Lakers and what the Lakers have done when they're back healthy, that you're talking about. But I think for me, I'm sorry, but I don't believe in the Warriors this year. I think they've done a decent job, though, with the pieces that they've had. But, I think the West has been exciting to watch just because it's competitive this year, right? It's for sure. And really, I'd say the NBA has honestly been competitive this year. I think that's what made it so fun. We didn't know what to expect, right? When COVID-19 happened, we didn't know the quality of basketball, right, that we were going to get. So far, it's been really good. And I think many of us are saying, now we finally can say, you know what? The champion, there's no guarantee. Again, when the Lakers are healthy, I get it, why people like them in the West. And, of course, I know we'll talk about the East in Brooklyn. But, again, I just think that Warriors team you have to knock out just because what I currently saw, unless they somehow have a 360 turnaround, it's not going to happen quickly for them to be, again, that Warriors team that we knew as of late. So I'm sorry, but I cannot give them the gold to keep on going.
And Kelsey, give Russell Westbrook credit for what he was able to do against Steph last night, holding him to 7 for 25 shooting. He was a season worst 2 for 14 from 3-point range. This is a man that scored 30 plus points in 11 straight games. He's the first player since the late Kobe Bryant to do that, and the oldest player to do that, to score 30 points in 11 straight games. So say what people will say about Russell Westbrook. He's got some haters and he's got some love, some guys that love him. I love Russell Westbrook no matter what people say about him. He's a triple-double machine. He can be a polarizing figure, but what Russell did last night against arguably the greatest shooter of all time was impressive.
Yeah, I think you just said it. Russell Westbrook, when he first got to DC, many of us were saying Russell Westbrook, right? We're like, what kind of Russell Westbrook is this? Is he going to be able to help? And remember, he was filling in for John Wall, who was beloved in Washington, D.C., a John Wall that stood on that scorer's table and really owned the city. John Wall filled that void after Agent Zero, Gilbert Arenas, right, had left Washington, D.C., and we all know about that whole saga that went down. And we've loved John Wall since he came, right? Remember the infamous Dougie that he brought to D.C. when he was getting in that starting lineup. And so when John Wall left, it was hard. It was a new-look Wizards team, and I think many have believed in Bradley Beal, but Bradley Beal needs help. He needed a piece, and we know what Russell Westbrook has been, a phenomenal basketball player, but one that's was looking to find his groove, right? We saw what happened in Houston previously. He comes here and they have growing pains, right? We know he has the relationship with Scott Brooks, but at first it just wasn't meshing, right? Sometimes you try something new and it's not fully going, but now this is the Russell Westbrook that fans have demanded in Washington, D.C., and bringing his energy and his A game, meshing with players. And I think I've personally seen Russell Westbrook grow and develop because he's also helping other young players on the team develop. And they'll tell you that, it's not a selfish Russell Westbrook here in D.C. It's a team player, Russell Westbrook in D.C. What he did on that game, like you said, playing great on both sides of the ball. That's what we wanted in Washington. That's why Russ is here in Washington. And so I think right now we're seeing it come together. And now we're even talking about the Wizards maybe making a run. Like, who would have thought that? Again, a Wizards team that there were so many questions about. Now we're like, let's see where things go. Because, again, the NBA has been so competitive this year. And it goes back to everything that we've been talking about. Going back to your question before, when you're talking about the West, I like the Mavs. They're still figuring things out. Again, another team that I think we thought beginning of the season we're going to quickly figure it out. But we're like, they kind of have it, but it's still not fully there. I love the Trailblazers and what they're doing. But I also do like Memphis. And, again, I think this is why the NBA this season has been so good because there's so many great games, so much young talent. But then going back to Russell Westbrook and the veteran presence, the veterans aren't letting anybody push them out, right? They're still here. They're still bringing everything that they've got and really making these teams competitive. So again, we have a lot of teams, I think, outside looking in that can make a run, and it will be a lot of good basketball being played. But there are a lot of people that are hungry and feel like they can make it into the playoffs.
Yes. And speaking about hungry and competitiveness, Kelsey, let's go ahead and go to the Eastern Conference. And looking at that, we have the 76ers. They've also been, that's another team that's totally been turned around. They have Doc Rivers and how they've just been able to mesh and totally do a 180. We have the Brooklyn Nets, Steve Nash, and, that arsenal that he has not only in the coaching side, but also with the players sitting at number 2. They're just half a game behind the Sixers. And, these are going to be going head to head until the last game, I think. So we have a lot of competitiveness here, even in the Eastern Conference. Following there, we have the Bucks, the Knicks, the Hawks, and the Celtics, following there. But how do you feel about this Sixers and Nets situation going on here?
Yeah, it's been fun. Like the East, for a while, I felt like the East has been looking at the West because we've been asking for competitive basketball in the East again, right? We wanted somebody that could really compete. And I think this season we've got it. We've seen the powerhouse team that Brooklyn has built. I think many of us were scratching our heads at first saying, you're bringing a lot of big pieces together. Will it work when you bring so many dominant personalities and dominant ball players? And I think so far, Brooklyn has shown up and been what we wanted them to be, right? We're not asking where Brooklyn's at because we see exactly where Brooklyn is at. And saying all that to say, I think they've been fun to watch. But of course, that injury bug is something that we have to watch. We need a healthy KD, all right? We need a healthy James Harden, because otherwise that puts a lot of pressure on Kyrie, right? And there's, again, great pieces, but the whole point of that team was to have all of these dominant forces working together, i.e. pre-Warriors, right? When KD was there and Steph and Clay were there. That's what we were expecting from Brooklyn. You talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, and they've been telling us to trust the process. Well, finally, we've trusted the process, right? And it's beginning to work out. It's beginning to mesh. And I really like what they've built in Philadelphia, right? I think everyone sees the young players finally coming together. I think we're actually starting to believe in that 76ers team. So I don't think anyone's mad. And I think even when you look at the East, too, you look at a team like the Bucks. And yes, the Bucks they're a good team, but I think they still have us still questioning, right? If they can actually, the Bucks are a team you always want to believe in. And I've been one of those people that have believed and they've broken my heart, right? Because somehow, some way, it just hasn't worked out. And that's what we're asking. We're saying, okay, they have a decent team. They have a good team, but do they have what it takes to compete? Especially, again, when you're looking at Brooklyn, when healthy, they are going to be a very dangerous team. And you talked about Steve Nash being at that helm, right? He's going to expect greatness from those players. And again, they found a way to make it work. And I think when you look at the East, it's just exciting. You have the Celtics, another team who I think people aren't talking about a lot, but the Celtics have crept their way up into one of the top of the standings. But again, a Celtics team that's also kind of new look, right? And trying to find a way to make it work. And then, of course, I talked about the Wizards, a team that was at the bottom of the NBA at the beginning of the season. And lo and behold, look at what they've recently done. Right? Yeah,
look, Kelsey, they're number 10 right now, so they would play in the play-in tournament against against the Indiana Pacers.
And who thought that? Who would have
thought that?
I mean, Bradley Beal at one point in a press conference was like, "We can't even guard a parked car." Well, now they're guarding a lot of cars. They're guarding a lot of cars. They're driving full speed because this Wizards team has been playing well on both sides of the ball. And again, the East is competitive again. This is what we've been asking, I think, in the East, because for a long time we've been outside looking out, at the West, like, we would love some great basketball like that. We would love for people to compete, to be at the top. And I think that's what we've been getting. And so again, I think NBA fans are very pleased and very happy. I had Brooklyn at the beginning of the season. A healthy Brooklyn at the beginning of the season. It's going to be hard to get away from that. But I mean, how lucky would we be to just see, LeBron go at it from the Lakers and Brooklyn go at it. It would just be a basketball fan's dream, right? Like, let's just be real. It'd be a basketball fan's dream. But again, like what I'm seeing in the East, I think it's going to be a foot race for the standings, but a lot of quality basketball going on, so no one can complain.
And I'm also excited to see the New York Knicks make their comeback. Julius Randle has played like an all-star. He's been an all-star this year, obviously, but he has been on fire. The basketball team is on fire. I believe they won 8 straight games right now. They are the number 4 seed right now. So if it ended today, the team they played last night, the Atlanta Hawks, would be who they would play in the playoffs. But I love all this new blood now, Kelsey, in the NBA with the Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks, with Trae Young bringing those Atlanta Hawks up, even after they had a head coaching change. But still, Nate McMillan came in there, and once Nate McMillan came in there, that team completely it just clicked for them, and they've been on fire this year. So it's great to see all these teams just come on, like you said, on the come up. And Boston is not where they want to be at 32-27. They've been, as Joanne and I talked before you came on, they've been in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the last 4 years. So they are used to making deep runs in the playoffs and not being just 5 games over 500. But still, they're in it. Yeah. All you have to do is make the second season, and then everything gets reset to 0-0.
Right, and you're there. And look, to be honest, Boston has for a long time kind of set the tone in the East, right? You're always looking out for Boston. Again, I think this is a team this year that things change, right? And they're trying to figure it out. But like you said, they are still there. And I love that you touched on the Knicks. It feels so great to talk about New York sports in a great light and see the Knicks doing well, right? We want to go back to the heydays. And they're a team, all right, I'll give it to Knicks fans. Yeah, y'all are playing some good basketball. You talked about Julius. I mean, no one can complain about what they're doing. And again, this is why we love the East right now. Lots of great basketball that is being played to a high caliber level, right? And this is why we're watching the games night in and night out. But this is why it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out of the East, because again, a lot of teams are starting to heat up this latter part of the season.
Yeah, they're all, with the East, with just a couple games, give or take, between one team to the other. And that goes even all the way down to those that are going to be in the play-in tournament, which a lot can still change there, even between Boston and the Heat and, possibly even the Charlotte Hornets. Even we still have about 13 or about a couple of weeks of games still left to play. So still plenty can change between now and then. And once it gets set back to 0 and that, other part of the season and the playoffs start, it's a whole new ball game. And you have a lot of surprises that happen in the playoffs. But yes, like you said, it's been a very exciting basketball, very exciting season. And I think a lot of it has kind of just came over from being in the bubble and just feeding off of that. And they had a quick turnaround. So I think that kind of helped to have the season that we're having now, and more games and more, a little bit more to fight for.
Yeah.
And now it has been exciting.
Back in the arena, kind of, right? So it's like, it's fun to kind of see the transformation. But like you said, I think the great basketball from the bubble has continued over. And again, this is an NBA season that we could have dreamt of, right? Just lots of great basketball being played. Remember the intensity that was in the bubble. I mean, we got so many great basketball moments inside the NBA bubble. And of course, that was something that was unexpected, right? COVID changed everything for all of us, but it's great to see these athletes still play at a top caliber level, even with all that was going on. And just to see the NBA like it is today, this is why we're excited, right? For the finals and the championship, because it's anybody's ball game.
And Joe and Kelsey, speaking of champions, Anthony Davis finally returned after 9 weeks away for the world champions tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. He's 2 for 9 so far, so he's struggling a little bit, but it's great to see Anthony Davis back. Kelsey and Joanna, it's been a long time since AD has suited up for the Lakers. When he's there, he is a dominant force. So for you, Kelsey, when AD's there, so when LeBron comes back, do you see the Lakers do you see that switch kind of flickering back on for them once the king gets back?
Yeah, look, those are the 2 quality pieces, the 2 big pieces, right? Yes, of course, AD back. And of course, it's going to take him a little bit to get back into rhythm. Like you said, he's been out. But when the king, right, King LeBron comes back, of course, I see the Lakers being back, that team that we thought they were. And let's be reminding people, they've been decent, right? But when you get your 2 king pieces back, right, your 2 biggest game pieces back, of course, it's going to be a game changer, right? And this is why we're saying that Lakers team, when healthy, is a dangerous team. Believe me, Lakers fans, the Lake Show, they believe that they can repeat as champions because of that.
Yeah. And speaking of Anthony Davis and the Lakers, and we've seen him kind of struggle with staying healthy and injuries. Is that something that could still be of a concern, not only for him, but for the Lakers? And will he stay healthy enough to finish out the season, or, how is this can even impact his career going forward?
It's the huge question, right? Because,